Hey guys, before I get into this video, I wanted to let you know this is my 31-week pregnancy update, and this does have some very personal information and possibly upsetting information. Don't worry, me and the baby are just fine, but I have developed a pregnancy complication that has turned this from a normal pregnancy into a very high-risk pregnancy, and I kind of wanted to explain it to you guys so that you understand, what's going on with me, so you understand this condition if you've never heard of it before or never had any experience with it before, because it's very, very rare. And I just wanted to warn you guys that I'm talking about all kinds of things medical, like medical details, blood, things like that. So if those kind of things gross or ick you out, then I would go ahead and skip this video. But if you want to find out what is going on with me and my health and my pregnancy, then go ahead and keep watching. You might want to get comfy because this is going to kind of be a long video. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible, but I do have a lot to explain. Today I'm doing my 31-week pregnancy update. I always do these at the end of the week, so as of tomorrow, I will be officially, Saturday tomorrow, I will be 32 weeks pregnant. I had a doctor's appointment on Monday, and you guys may have noticed I haven't had any videos up all week. That's because we had something kind of stressful happen in regards to the pregnancy. Don't worry, the baby is fine. But you guys know this pregnancy's kind of been a roller coaster for me. It's definitely been the hardest one I've had yet. In case you haven't watched any of my other videos, a little bit of background. I do have 3 kids already who are 6, 5, and 3.5. And with all of them, my pregnancies went really normal, standard delivery, no cesareans needed, none of that. Very, very normal, fine. In some of my previous pregnancies, early on I had what's called a low-lying placenta. Sorry guys, I'm going to get into some kind of icky details here, so if that kind of stuff grosses you out, you can go ahead and skip this video, but it is definitely affecting what's going on in my life right now, so I wanted to share it with you. But uterus is basically shaped like a balloon with an opening called the cervix at the bottom. Pretty basic. A low-lying placenta is when it's towards the bottom of the balloon. It's really common to have that early in pregnancy, and with me it's always moved up. It's just what it does. As your stomach gets bigger, it just normally will move up. However, this time, again, my 18-week ultrasound, we had noticed it was low again, and we figured, okay, it's just going to move up like it always does. I just went in and had another ultrasound this Monday, and it has not moved up. In fact, it is completely covering the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus. The placenta is like a giant organ that gives all the nutrients and stuff to the baby. And when it completely covers the cervix, like mine is right now, it's called a complete placenta previa, which means it does change some things about my pregnancy. The likelihood of it moving up at this point is less than about 5%. It's very, very rare for it to move at all at this point. Normally, most people would have had what's called a bleed by now, where they have a bleeding episode. Thankfully, I have been incredibly lucky in the fact that I have had the kidney stones and the morning sickness and the hip problems, which have kept me very, very sedentary, because otherwise I probably would have had a bleed by now. They're incredibly common, especially between 31 and 35 weeks. The way my doctor described it is the first time you bleed, it's like a trickle or just a little bit of spotting. The second time is like turning on a faucet full blast, which is basically the scariest thing I've ever heard a doctor say to me. And I've dealt with a lot of doctors and a lot of issues and a lot of problems, but basically my doctor's telling me that I could suddenly hemorrhage blood at any point, but mine is even more complicated. Your placenta can either implant on the sides, on the back, on the top, or on the front of your uterus. Mine is what's called an anterior placenta previa, which means it is implanted on the front. So it's covering the cervix, but it's also on the front of my uterus. A placenta previa in general means that you need a C-section. An anterior placenta previa means that you need a C-section, and it's incredibly highly risky. Basically, they have to, unless for some reason it shifts to one side or the other, they will have to cut through the placenta to get to the baby, which basically means I will probably lose a lot of blood in the surgery. As in, they will have like full blood supplies right there in the room ready to give me a transfusion. And if they can't stop the bleeding, I will have to have a full hysterectomy, which is full removal of the uterus. I've read that the hysterectomies are usually only in cases where the placenta has attached way too deeply into the uterus, which usually only happens if you have a previous cesarean section, which I don't. Since all of my births were standard vaginal births before, then I don't have a great likelihood for having that happen. So hysterectomy is really, really unlikely, but blood loss is guaranteed. So I've definitely been put on some restrictions. My doctor didn't put me on a ton of restrictions, but because of our circumstances, our family has chosen to put me under certain restrictions. My doctor has told me absolutely no traveling. I cannot be further than 30 minutes away from the hospital, maximum, which basically means I can't travel past my normal shopping area. I am on full pelvic rest. I'm not going to go into the details of what that means, but basically no super cuddly husband-wife time, if you guys get what I'm saying. Those are pretty much the restrictions that my doctor put me on, plus being told that if I start bleeding, I have to come into the emergency room immediately. I have to be there as fast as humanly possible, which means that basically during the week is a dangerous time for me because my husband works an hour away from our home. My mom, who is our emergency contact, lives about 20 minutes away from our home. And of course, my kids are too young to be left by themselves. We do have a plan in place in case there is an emergency and I do start bleeding. Thankfully, I haven't yet. But yeah, so we decided to put in place some extra restrictions, and those are based on what I have read that have triggered bleeds in other people. So I'm not lifting anything heavier than 5 pounds right now, tops. I'm not cleaning, I'm not cooking, no heavy scrubbing, no pushing, no pulling, no lifting. Basically, I'm on a modified bed rest. I have been having Braxton Hicks contractions, so basically anytime I get those, I do whatever it takes, laying on my left side, drinking tons of water, to stop those as soon as possible because those can trigger movement around the uterus and placenta, which can be bad. I'm not sure what exactly my doctor's plans are for me yet. I see her again this Tuesday. I'm sure she'll go into more detail about things then, but I know that most women with placenta previa are given ultrasounds about every 2 to 3 weeks to monitor, and most are delivered by C-section around 36 to 37 weeks. So we will, unless there is some miracle and my placenta decides to move, we'll be having this baby a lot earlier than we had originally planned. That's basically where I've been this week, is I have been absorbing that information, doing a ton of research and trying my best not to panic, because right now I've gone from a normal but really, really crummy, miserable pregnancy to a very, very high risk pregnancy at this point. So I'm basically kind of terrified and trying to not let it stress me out too much at this point. I am going to keep filming. I'm going to keep filming a couple videos a week. I will also be keeping you guys updated with what's going on via Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. If I go into the hospital, of course you guys will know. I will make that known. You guys know I don't hide stuff like that. But yeah, that's my big thing this week, is trying not to panic and worry too much. The good news is that I am very lucky to live where I live. The area we live in is very rural. When you have the possibility of a premature baby, you really want to be close to a level 3 NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit. And we are lucky to live within 10 minutes of my hospital, which has a level 3 NICU, which is the only one within an hour of our house. We're lucky we don't live in a different area of the state, because otherwise we could face, a 2-hour transport to that hospital, or me possibly being separated from the baby if the baby had to be taken to an advanced NICU. Our hospital, we're extra lucky, is one of very few in the country that has their NICU set up, not like the ones you see on TV where it's tons of babies in one room with a ton of nurses and nowhere for the parents to stay. Ours is actually designed like a hotel room, like a hotel suite, where every baby gets their own room with pull-out couches and chairs and space for the family. So if for some reason they decide this baby needed to be delivered early, then we would be able to stay with the baby as much as possible after delivery because of that setup, and actually be there, stay overnight, etc. So that's something that's actually very, very reassuring, is knowing that I'm right next door to one of the best hospitals in the area, one that I'm very familiar with, and that I know has an amazing care system in place, both for me and the baby. So that's very helpful. And the other helpful thing is normally our babies come out pretty small. In fact, I was on bed rest with our son because they were afraid he was going to be super, super tiny, which he did end up being pretty tiny, but he still is. I think that's just his genetic makeup. But we're lucky enough, we found out that this baby is actually slightly ahead of the normal growth curve. And he's weighing in at 3 pounds, 12 ounces right now, which is amazing, because the more a baby weighs, the more developed they are, the better they tend to do. I have no idea when I'm going to have this baby now. I mean, my placenta could move and I could have this baby naturally at 39, 40 weeks and everything be fine. I could have a bleed tomorrow and have to be rushed into an emergency cesarean and have the baby tomorrow. I have no clue. And I've heard it described this way, and it makes perfect sense. It's like I'm literally a ticking time bomb, because from a lot of what I've read, it's not if you're going to bleed, it's when you're going to bleed. So I'm pretty much staying close to home, being careful, not doing anything I don't have to. Our 7th wedding anniversary is this weekend, and normally we like to kind of get out of town a little bit, but this time we are definitely sticking very, very close to home. We'll probably do some light shopping, pick up some baby things, go out to dinner, and keep things really, really low-key, because that's where I need things to be right now, is as calm and low-key and relaxed as possible. Because when I get stressed, I do start contracting, and that's dangerous. So anyway, baby is doing good. I'm doing good, other than, panicking constantly now. And it's just my placenta that's being a pain in the ass. So I'm going to show you guys where I am at right now. I have gained quite a bit of weight in the past 2 weeks. I am up to 142 pounds, which is 2 pounds higher than I normally am on delivery day. So I'm definitely feeling the extra weight. It's definitely uncomfortable, but my little baby is growing good, and that is all that matters. So I'm going to show you guys my tummy. And here is my tummy today at the end of 31, beginning of 32 weeks. I am nice and round. I have gotten very, very big at this point. I feel absolutely huge. And I'm wearing one of the only maternity tops I have, which is a tank that I got at Kohl's. It's nice and comfy and stretchy, and I love how super long it is. You can't even see the pants I'm wearing practically, it's so long, but I'm just wearing a pair of old stripy shorts. I've had these things since I was in high school, so. But other than that, no new stretch marks, just the very first original one I had with my first baby, and it's only about that big. You guys have seen it before. So no new ones yet. No real cravings at all, though I've been constantly hungry. And I have heartburn almost continuously. But thankfully my husband is a genius, and he can mix up the perfect ratio of milk with chocolate syrup to make a chocolate milk that will actually fix my heartburn better than like a chewable Tums will. So that really, really helps. No swelling at all, but my blood pressure has kind of gone up and down a lot, which is unusual for me. Normally it's really, really low. I think it's just been going up because of all the stress and anxiety and things. I think that's about it. It's pretty much everything I can think of, but if you guys have any questions about what's going on, feel free to ask them down below, and I will be happy to answer them. I've done a ton of research on this and what's going on. I think I covered everything that I wanted to tell you guys. I hope I didn't leave anything out. So if I did, if there's anything you want to ask, go ahead. So I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. If you guys want to give this video a thumbs up, that would be amazing. And if you haven't yet, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. You can also keep up with me on my website, which is joannabrooks.net, and on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. I am pretty much everywhere. Thank you guys so much for all your support and being amazing, and I will see you soon. Bye.